What's up, everybody? It's PB here, and I'm back with another review of Stargirl, Episode 6, The Justice Society. They didn't want to add of America. I'm not sure why. Are they afraid to, talk about America? Who knows? Who knows with these people? It's a new America that they're building towards. Maybe that's why they didn't want to add America. But that's to do with the TV show. Anyway, if it's your first time here, welcome. And go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you're returning, thank you very much for your support. And if you're excited to talk about Stargirl, why don't you go ahead and hit that like button. If you're not excited to talk about Stargirl, or if you're just here to hate on me, go ahead and hit that dislike button. But continue to listen anyways, because I'm sure that you'll hear something that you're either going to enjoy or something that you can tear me apart on. But if you've been here before, you know how we do it. We'll start with the non-spoiler stuff first, so you can get an idea of what this episode's about, and then we will jump into the spoiler recap. So we'll start with the overall general review. This episode of Stargirl, quite possibly, is the best one that they had all season since the premiere. Because the premiere had everything that you would want in it, except that it may have been lacking in some characters because they were still adding to the roster. So imagine a season 2 or a season 3 premiere when they have everybody there and you can have a big battle or something like that. Yeah, that's what the series premiere was lacking. Yeah, you had the little bit at the beginning because you had the original Justice Society, but we're talking about episode 6, this Justice Society. And yeah, this was a pretty damn good episode. It had the action in it, it had the intrigue, and it's probably going to make you feel a certain way towards a certain character that you weren't expecting. I know I wasn't expecting it. I mean, it caught me totally off guard. I wasn't expecting at all, I know I'm using that word a lot all of a sudden, to be feeling this particular way towards that character. It caught me by surprise. I thought they were going to, just have this person, because I don't want to give any spoilers about who it was, just be the exact person that they are, and they were gonna, keep it at surface value, or keep everything on the surface. They weren't going to dive deep into his heart. Oh, I said his. Son of a bitch. I'm sorry. So, there's a half a spoiler. I'm talking about a he. Damn it. Anyway, yeah, if you haven't seen this episode, you definitely need to go check it out. Even if you just like TV. If you just like TV, this is a great episode of TV to watch. You don't even necessarily have to like Stargirl. You don't necessarily have to like DC heroes to like this episode, and I think you would be able to get on board with it. That's how good I thought this one was. Like, it didn't have anything in it where it was pulling you out of the story, and it didn't waste any time on stuff, waste a super amount of time on stuff that is irrelevant to the story, or at least that, from my perspective, I believe is irrelevant to the story, because it's called Stargirl. So if you're talking about ancillary characters, these need to be short scenes, and that's what they do in this episode. So yeah, if you haven't watched it, you need to go and see this episode as soon as possible. If you've fallen behind, like if you didn't see last week's episode, yeah, you're not going to understand exactly how everybody was connected, but this one actually builds on last week a little bit with some of the characters they introduced and expands their story a little more and lets you know what's going on. And then on top of that, it digs deeper into characters that we haven't seen for a week or two. So yeah, with all of that being said, that's about all I can say in a non-spoiler fashion because holy shit, if all kinds of stuff popped off in this episode. Like, it seemed to be a lot longer than it was. It was the shortest episode of the season, and it seemed like it was an entire hour long, and it's only like 41 minutes. And I was sitting there watching it on DC Universe. For all you people watching on CW, you're not going to miss anything in this episode. Not a damn thing. So, let's get into the spoiler part of the review now, so that you can, know exactly what happened, and I'll recap all of it for you. So, we start off the episode, and Blue Valley High is having a football practice. And I had the subtitles on, so it said Artemis on the screen, so I was like, oh, I know that quarterback is a whammon. I knew it right off the bat. My wife didn't know, but I knew it right away, and I was like, oh, well, this isn't going to be a surprise to me. And then she makes it into the end zone, and she just gets lit the fuck up like a late hit, and she's like, you do that again, you're going to be the one on the ground. And the other guy's like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. And she clocks him right in the face, knocks him the fuck down. And I was like, oh, she ain't dicking around at all. Not at all. And her parents are up in the stands, they're cheering her on. She gets sent to the bench. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, the other guy, he probably needs to, run some extra sprints or do some up-downs or something like that. Like, he needs to do something extra. But you can't be punching people with your fists at football practice. So she gets put on the bench. Anyway, practice gets done. The coach is freaking going to leave at the, at night or whatever, because it's dark out. And the parents meet the coach outside, and he's like, hey, I'm not going to be intimidated. I've dealt with frickin' parents before. I know what I'm doing. So he's like, oh, really? You've dealt with parents before? So what does he do? He picks up his bat, and he kills this motherfucker. He kills him. He cracks him right in the face, and he kills the son of a bitch. Anyway, that's how they start this episode. I was like, oh my god, I guess that's how you deal with a coach that you don't quite appreciate when you are the Sportsmaster. Yes, her parents are Sportsmaster and Tigress. Good stuff. I like it. I like it a lot. So then, Stargirl gets back home. She rides the staff up to her window, opens it up, and Pat's sitting in the house. And he's like, dude, you stole all this shit. She's like, well, yeah, I did steal it, and I gave it to some people. And he's like, well, do you want them to end up dead? Because it's dangerous. You need to go get that stuff back right now. And she's like, oh, I guess I don't want my friends to end up dead, so I guess I will go and get that stuff back. And he takes all of the stuff that she has in her room and takes it out, but they forget the pink pen. That pink pen that is apparently the most dangerous fucking thing in the world is still sitting in her pen holder. And whatever, I don't know what the hell it's all about. So then Pat takes all the stuff downstairs, and he's looking at Rex Tyler's old journal, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna take this journal and try and figure out what the hell's going on with it. Doesn't have any idea what's in the journal, what it says, because he thinks it's all in code or something. And then we cut to the part that I was not expecting to make you feel some way about the villain. We cut to Icicle, and he's in bed, alone, because his wife died 8 years ago? I don't remember exactly how many years ago it is. It's a while ago. She dead, and he's there all alone. And apparently, he wakes up, and it's super early in the morning. His kid asks him, he's like, you doing okay, Dad? I know this is a tough day for you, so I'm guessing that it's his wife's birthday. That's my guess. Well, it was either birthday or death day. But later in the show, we get a piece of cake, so I'm pretty sure it's her birthday. And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. It's just a tough day, so just to, go back to bed. Everything will be okay. Everything will be just fine. Mom, you gotta call me back at a different time when I'm not recording the video. Like, come on now. I'm in the middle of a review and a recap, and you're trying to contact me? No. So he gets up super early in the morning, he drives out into the woods, and Sportsmaster and Tigress are burying this frickin' guy. And they're like, yeah, we've been waiting to get called back in. We're just sitting here waiting. He's like, well, get your shit together and get your costumes out of the storage because you're coming back in. We're doing shit tonight. And they were like, oh, excellent. We've been, we just been waiting. That's all we want to do. We just want to be villains. It's all we want to be. Excellent. So, later that morning, because it's super early in the morning, the kid, I never remember this kid's name. Pat's kid's name? I never remember his name at all. He's making a science project, and it's a chocolate volcano. Pat asks him, well, how long you known about this? He's like, I known about it 3 weeks, which is why I started working on it, last night. And Barbara's like, this is really awesome. This is really cool. And he's like, yeah, somebody's at least on point. Somebody here. Cool. And then, I don't know, Courtney frickin', they pass a look between her and Pat. I don't know what it was about. I asked my wife what it was about. She didn't know what the fuck it was about. I jump back, I look at it again, I watched it twice. I still have no idea what this extra look was about. Anyway, Pat decides that he's gonna go and talk to Rick. See if he can figure out what's going on with this journal. So he just pulls over on the side of the road where his car broke down, and Rick's like, hey, did your car break down again? And he's like, no, I wanna have a chat with you about stuff in general. He's like, okay, whatever. Cool. So Courtney goes to school, and apparently Rick ain't going to school because Pat picked him up, and she's talking to Yolanda, and Yolanda's like, well, this is awesome. We could find this other person to be in our group, and things have been so great since you gave me the Wildcat suit, and it's really turning my life around. I haven't done anything positive since all of the bullshit happened with, the nudie pics going around school, man. I have a great positive force in my life. I love being Wildcat. And Courtney's like, well, then I guess I won't take the suit away. And she fucking walks away. I was like, oh, man, this is not working out. You can't be crushing people's dreams like this. Son of a bitch. Oh, my God. It's like, okay, well, that's one fail. And then she's like, okay, well, she decides, well, I'm not going to take the Wildcat suit back. I'll go get the goggles from Beth, right? So she decides Beth is sitting in she's sitting in the library, and she's talking to the goggles. Like, she's fallen in love with the goggles. Does anybody know the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix, where he falls in love with his phone? Her best fucking friend are these goggles. Like, this is some creepy shit. She's in the corner of the library just talking to goggles. She's like, you can't take these goggles away. He's my best friend. He's the only person that talks to me. He's the only person that listens. He makes everything more fun. I was like, you really just fell in love with some freaking headwear, didn't you? Oh my God, that's terrifying. She's like, okay, well, I guess since he's your best friend, I won't take the goggles away. And she leaves. So once again, not retrieving the stuff that Pat told her to get. Way to go, Courtney. My God, like, get it together, girl. Get it together. You can do better than this. And we're only a third of the way through the freaking episode. Exactly. All this shit's happening. We're only a third of the way through the episode. So then Pat is talking to Rick, and he's like, you did this to your uncle's truck. He's like, yeah, I did it to his truck because he's a dick. He's a big fucking dick. And he deserved it. And he's like, oh, well, your dad would never use the hourglass like that. He's more responsible than that. He would never use that kind of power. So then we make it to lunchtime. Rick is still not at school. Like, he's supposed to be at school. Everyone's supposed to be at fucking... He ain't at school at all. Not one fucking bit. And it's already lunchtime. Courtney's like, okay, Yolanda and Beth are sitting together. I'll go talk to them, see if I can get the stuff back. And she goes and talks to them, and they're like, no, we ain't. I'm not doing that. Yolanda freaks out. She's like, no, I'm not giving this shit back. Screw you. And she walks the fuck away. And Beth is like, he's my best friend, so you can't just take my best friend away, so that's not happening. And I was like, oh my God, you are failing at everything you're trying to do today, Courtney. You need to step up your game. Like, I thought that you were some kind of hero. Can't you lead these people? Can't you lead these people, woman? Oh, man. Like, you need to do better. And I'm trying to fast forward through the episode a little bit right here. So then, Pat and Rick, they're talking, and Rick don't know anything about the frickin' journal. He don't know how to decipher it because, he's just a kid. He's not some genius chemist like his dad was. He's like, you need to respect this. And you need to give me the hourglass and the journal. And Rick's like, no, I ain't giving any of this stuff back to you. It was my dad's. See you later. He's like, oh, okay, well then I guess you're leaving then. Like, nobody is listening to Pat the way that they should be. Like, he calls him out. He's like, oh, you were a hero? Well, you didn't do anything for these guys. You didn't do frickin' anything. They're all frickin' dead, and you didn't know shit. and you ain't trying to stop the Injustice Society of America at all. He's like, oh. He takes a second look. He's like, well, son of a bitch. I guess I didn't know nothing. And then we get back to another football practice, because, now it's after school, and there's a new coach at football practice, and the parents up in the stands again, and the principal's like, oh my God, for the love of God, can you please just let this football coach live? That is the look that she gives to Sportsmaster and Tigress. I don't know the parents' names. It don't matter. And then the evil fat white guy, he shows up, and he's like, hey, this is what we're doing tonight. This is the plan. We got to break in. We got to get some satellite codes so we can use this piece of technology that we stole. And they're like, okay, we'll be your muscle while you're in there hacking away. And as he walked up, he dropped some garbage on the ground. And Tigress is like, hey, we take pride in our school. Pick up your trash. And he picked up the trash. So you know where the power sits between these two people, or three people. Like, he is afraid of these people, at least in this sense. Like, maybe if he had all of his toys, he wouldn't be quite as afraid, but he's a little bit afraid of, literally getting his head knocked off with a bat, which I would be too. I want to get my head knocked off with a bat. Shit, that'd be terrible. My God. I mean, you want to get hit in the head with a baseball bat? In the comments below, if you want to get hit in the head with a baseball bat, give me a hashtag baseball bat to the head. Anybody. If you made it this far in the review, give me one of those. Just go for it. Because that would be freaking hilarious. I love it. So, what do we got next? What do we go to next? What's going on here? Like, show me screen. I can't tell. I can't even tell. Oh, we make it to the science fair. And like I talked about before, this is one of those things where you shouldn't be wasting time on the ancillary characters. And this scene is like 90 seconds. Barbara shows up. All of the parents were there. The kid said, oh, I don't need anybody here. And he was just front. And he's like, yeah, nobody gives a shit about me because I'm not Courtney. But Barbara showed up anyways. And he showed off his freaking volcano. And it exploded. And everybody had a good time. And everyone was happy. And it took like 90 seconds and we can move on, right? Excellent. That's exactly what you're supposed to do with scenes like this. Let us know the other characters are still around, but it's not important to the story, so you just move on. Nobody cares about your volcano. We just want to eat the chocolate and the marshmallows. That's it. Period. Give me a hashtag marshmallows and chocolate down there if you want to. What do you mean, attachment failed to download? Stop telling me that. Anyway, it's the end of school today now, right? Because we're doing football practice. The three girls are leaving, and guess who finally shows up to school? Rick finally shows up to school. He gets there. He shows up to school as the final fucking bell rings. That's when he gets there. And they're all like, hey, they're just talking about it, and she's like, well, we need to, I need you to give me all the stuff back. And all three of them, they say no. And then Rick asks Courtney, if Pat asks for the staff back, are you giving the staff back? And he says, or she says, no. Or she didn't say no, but she didn't answer. And Rick goes, that's what I thought. Exactly. Nobody wants to give their stuff back once they either have it or they've been established. Nobody's given back their superpowers or their ability to have superpowers. And as they're standing there, Dr. Midnight, the goggles, tells Beth that the gambler is hacking in to get these codes. So they devise that they're going to make a plan to go and get the gambler, and then they're going to interrogate him, and they can tell him everything that they need to know to take down the Injustice Society of America. Great plan, right? It's going to go off without a hitch, right? Wonderful. Okay? Although, some of these people have been a superhero not at all. Some of them been a superhero for a couple weeks. So I'm sure this will go great against people that have been villains for decades. I'm sure it'll go perfectly smoothly, right? Right. Okay. So they're like, well, we need to get costumes and everything. So Rick's got to get a costume. Dr. Midnight's got to get a costume. Whatever. And then we get another scene where what I said earlier, Icicle and Baby Icicle, well, his kid, whatever. Junior Icicle? What's a tiny icicle called? Ice Cube? No, that's a rapper, so not that. These people are not black, so it can't be Ice Cube. So, some other type of, just, ice something else. Tiny Ice? icy? I don't know. So you tell me in the comments what Icicle's kid is called. I don't freaking know what Icicle's kid is called. They're at a diner, and they bring the piece of cake, which is how I know it was a birthday, and it's real emotional. Exactly. Now, I'm feeling for the villain. Like, I shouldn't be feeling for the villain. I'm feeling for the villain. This is terrible. I don't want to be feeling for the villain. Why are you making me feel for the villain? Like, I don't want to do that. So Pat gets home, and Barbara tells Pat that Courtney is out with Beth and some friends, and he's like, you've got to be effing kidding me. What friends? And sure shit, they're out there, and they're gonna break into this place to catch the gambler. They get up to the door, and they're like, well, how are we supposed to get in? And Rick was gonna punch the door, and they're like, hold on. And Beth can see the code on the door with the goggles. I don't know exactly how that works, but apparently that's how it works. I'm not going to question it because I don't understand the powers of Dr. Midnight. I'm not the expert. If somebody can tell me the powers of Dr. Midnight, that would be great. Anyway, they just walk right in the door, they're walking down the hallways, and then, for whatever reason, they decide to split up. Like, I don't know why, they just split up. They're like, no, we need to stick together after they find a corpse. Like, they go down the hallway, they engage with Sportsmaster and Tigress, and half of them go after Sportsmaster, and half of them go after Tigress. And this is where I was skeptical. I was like, okay, is this going to play out like a Batwoman? Or is this going to play out like it should? Because these people been villains forever, and they're fighting against people who just started, and it plays out like it should. The new heroes lose. They do not make it. I mean, they survive, but they do not win the fight. Rick loses the fight against Sportsmaster. Wildcat loses the fight against Tigress. Stargirl shows up just in time to save Rick from Sportsmaster, and then Tigress shows up and they start beating the hell out of Stargirl, and all of this is on the clock. Like, they're just hanging out just long enough until the evil fat white guy known as the Gambler can get the codes, and then they're gonna pull out, right? That's all they have to do. That's what villains are about. They just have to accomplish the mission, whereas the heroes are meant to stop the villains, right? So, they don't win any of these fights. At all. None of them. Wildcat loses. Our Man loses. Stargirl loses. And when they get together and you think it's about to be 4-on-2, right? They're all outside the building. They've all made their way outside the building. Tigress, Sportsmaster are standing there, and Our Man, Dr. Midnight, Wildcat, and Stargirl are standing there. And who shows up? Pat, in his robot. And they're like, oh, damn, we didn't realize that you guys also had a giant robot on your side. So, Sportsmaster and Tigress, boom, ninja vanish like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and they're gone. Because they got the codes, man. So they were not able to stop them. They lost. They did not stop the villains from getting what they wanted, and they didn't accomplish the mission, what they set out to do, which was acquire the Gambler and then interrogate him to get all of the info so they could get the rest of the Injustice Society members of America. So yeah, this is how it's supposed to play out. You could learn a thing or two, Batwoman. You're not supposed to beat the villain and then be like, oh, you're my sister, so I can let you go. What fucking trash. Stargirl, you're doing it right. I love it. Anyway, all of the heroes, they end up leaving because the villains are gone. You don't know where the villains went. And they get back to Pat's garage, and Our Man, Wildcat, and Dr. Midnight, they're like, whoa, you couldn't have built this out of a car. And they're like, oh man, must have been like 8 cars. But then up on the balcony, Courtney is talking to Pat. And she's like, oh man, we were gonna go in, and I had a plan, and they weren't listening to me, and all yada yada yada. She literally lays out every single thing that Pat has said to her since the start of the show. And he's just like, how does it feel? And she turns and looks at him, and he's like, oh, I get what you mean there. And then he asks her, he's like, well, we're gonna have to train your partners. And she's all confused. She's like, train them? Don't you want the stuff back? And he's like, well, are we going to be able to get it back? It's not like we have a choice. She's like, oh, you've got a point there. Cause ain't nobody giving the stuff back. None of them. Like, you're gonna have to fight the heroes to get the hero stuff back if you want it back. You're gonna turn all these heroes into villains if you want the shit back. How about you just side with them and let them keep the stuff? That's the way to go. That is most definitely the way to go. So yeah, that's what's gonna happen. They're all gonna get trained together. But then the final scene is the Injustice Society of America. They're in their lair, wherever the frick it is. I don't know where the hell it is. Underneath something. And Icicle, Sportsmaster, Tigress, the Gambler. Oh, who's the other one? I couldn't tell if the Dragon King was there. I don't think the Dragon King was there. I think he's still checking out the body of the wizard. But the principal was there. The fiddler, you know? The one who went through the transition because she used to be an Irish man and now she's a Latino woman or something like that, or an African American. She's dark-skinned. I don't know what she is, but that was the whole episode. They have their meeting down there and they're like, yeah, we're ready to move forward. So, you need to go and watch this episode. This was a great episode of TV. Let me know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of my review and my recap in the comments below. I thought that I was quite thorough. But until next time, everybody, I, Pop Culture PB, bid you adieu.
If you are enjoying the content, please hit subscribe and ding the bell for notifications. That way you will never miss an upload by Pop Culture PB.